Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to take all of those frames that we've rendered and we're going to go ahead and turn them into a video using Adobe Premiere Pro. You can see that I have several folders set up where I've rendered my different cameras and my different scenes. So camera 1 part 2, and then camera 2. I'm going to import all of these into a new project in Premiere Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Premiere Pro. When you open it, if you haven't set any projects before, it may look like this. You also have some of your recent stuff down here. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and click on New Project. I'm going to give it a name. And I'm going to call this my city demo. Okay. And here you can browse where you want it to go. Right now I have it going into my project for our city. So I created that Adobe folder as I talked about before. If I click here, you can see in here is my our city project. These are my standard folders for Maya, and then I just added a new folder because I'm trying to keep everything together. In this case, it's my Adobe Premiere. And you can see that Adobe set some default folders in there for me. So I'm going to select that, select folder, and then I'm going to say OK. Now it opens up into this default scene for me, which is my editing scene. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to import those images that I rendered from Arnold inside of Maya. I'm going to go down to, I'm going to click on File, go to Import, and then you see here all of those pictures. I'm just going to click on the very first one. And by default, if this is the first time you've used it, this would be checked, unchecked. I'm going to make sure it's checked, image sequences. So what it does is it's going to take my first one and it's going to take all the ones in that same numbering sequence and it's going to import it into my Premiere Pro. Okay, and you can see that right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and import my other ones as well. So again, import there. I'm going to go up to my next camera, which is camera 2, my camera 1 part 2, do the same thing, hit open, and then I'm going to do it one more time. And this is the way I recommend doing it. Instead of just clicking and dragging it all in, or dragging and dropping a folder into here, you may not get them in the right sequence or the right order, and it may do some crazy stuff over here in your work area. So not the best recommended plan. I would do the import by sequence. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my first one. I'm going to left click mouse, drag it and drop it over here. And when I do that, it populates this area here, and you can see my first short section of images is dropped right here into the video 1, that video 2, and video 3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that with each sequence. And then with this last one right here. Okay, now you can see that it's very small. I can come down here and I can move this one direction or the other and increase my frame size down here so that I have a little bit more area to work with, and it's a little bit easier. So now when I run my timeline through it, I can see that basically I'm flipping from one scene to the next. Now I may not want to have every piece of scene used here. So, and the reason why I've stacked them across like this is so I can keep track of which ones I want to keep. As I decide that I want to keep it the way it is, I'm going to go ahead and pull it down here onto my video 1. It's just a method I use to help keep myself straight on what I want to do. You can keep them stacked or side so that you can edit them separately. That's just your preference. But as I am happy with something, I move it down here. So for example, this one right here, this part of the fly through, I may go ahead and keep all of that. I kind of like the way that looks. This one, I might shorten it just a little bit, just for the sake of showing you how to do it. You can edit it down to however you want. You can cut it, but the easiest method I found is basically what I do is I'll find a spot where I want to stop it initially, and maybe right there. And I can click and see how I have that little red arrow. If I pull that red arrow one direction or the other, you can see that now it cuts it down. And basically, it edited out all of that piece I didn't want to just cut it out for me. I'm going to keep this one the way it is. I'm going to pull it down. So now we have that. Let's slide this up just a little bit. You can see when I get to the point where it's lined up with the previous set of frames, a black line appears right here, and that's where I know I can stop it, and it won't have any loss. So this first piece here, see how it kind of jumps over? That's okay, but what I want to do is I want to try to make this a little smoother. So I think what I'm going to do is if I take a look at this, I kind of am coming up on the side of the ship. So I'm going to find where I start to kind of get to the side of the ship here as if I wanted to cut that down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this down and cut that. And now I'm going to just go ahead and pull it in. For the sake of time, I'm not going to get into a lot of heavy editing here. I'm just kind of showing you some processes. If we right click on these, you'll also have some other choices that you can go and use. You can do different types of deleting processes, labels, but there is so much involved with Adobe Premiere Pro, and I am just trying to show you how to quickly make a video. I'm not going to get into all the details of all of these different capabilities inside Premiere Pro at this point in time. So now I've got this, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of do a fly around like this and probably end it right there. All right, so now I've got my video the way I think I want it. I'm going to hit the back arrow, hit play, and it may get a little, may have some issues with graphics. We'll just see how smooth it is. It's actually moving pretty smoothly, so that's pretty good. I shut down some of my other programs that were, oh, there we go. It's causing some. But don't worry about it. That's not going to be in your video when you actually go to render it. You may have some of those same issues. Okay, so now I've got my video set up the way I like it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some sound effects. And there are several websites out there where you can find free sound effects. And let me see here, soundbible.com is one of those. And it's pretty easy. So you can kind of go through. In this case, I put down, I wanted to find a helicopter sound. I didn't use this one, so I'll just go ahead and hit play. You can kind of see how it sounds. Helicopter being maybe blown up or firing a missile. So if you wanted this, for example, you would click on it and it would take you here, and there's some flash stuff that it had blocked. One thing you got to be careful when you come into this page, I'm just letting you know, it looks like start download here, but then if you read it, it's not really the download. What we want is right in here, and it can be either a WAV or an MP3. Both of these work in Premiere Pro. I usually just grab the first one, which is the WAV, and it works just fine. All right, so that's soundbible.com. Again, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of clips on this site that are free. And if you take a look, there are some that say personal use only. So, again, attribution and public domain. So if you're trying to do something you're going to sell, you want to make sure that you're using a license that allows you to do that. Okay. So now I've got some sounds. I've already downloaded them onto here, and I'm going to make several layers here because what I'm trying to do is kind of give an effect of a city that is kind of in a panic because this large spacecraft just landed in the middle of their park. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some city ambiance, and you can see that it's not quite long enough to complete my entire sound here. And that's okay because we can, again, copy it, duplicate it, or I can just drag it in again. And that's what I'm going to do right off the bat. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the second one. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to this one because you can see down here, there's a slight ramp up of sound, then a massive amount of sound, and then it kind of ramps back down. I don't want this ramping down at the end. So let's go ahead and hear how this plays. or how's it sounds when we hit play. And there it has that ramp down right there. I am going to get rid of that. Again, I can do the same thing I did before, and I'm just going to move it over probably right about there. And then this one, you can see the sound also has a ramp up. I don't want that ramp up. I'm going to edit that out. And because this is going to be background noise, it's going to be at a very low level. This split right here, I'm not going to worry about trying to blend. I think it's going to be okay. And in fact, it was really not even noticeable. Okay, now it is a little long. If I roll my center mouse button, I can move myself left and right simply by rolling it. Now I'm going to grab this and click on it with my left mouse button and drag it. Again, there's that black line that shows that I am now lined up with the end of that frame. And now I have the first part of my sound effects. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add some more sound effects. I'm also going to want some police siren sound. So this one is a city ambulance, which I also got off the Sound Bible. I am going to put that in here, line it up. And you can see that this one is longer, and that's okay. And I'm also going to take this helicopter, I think this one right here. I got this off a Sound Bible as well, although it indicates that this one was by this person. Okay, and then there's some other ones down here that I am not using. Okay, so, and it looks like I might need to do something with the helicopter hovering sound because it's not quite long enough. And I'm going to go ahead and, again, I want to have a constant helicopter sound, so I'm going to splice this down to here. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag in the helicopter sound again. I want that to stay constant again. Maybe at the very beginning because it sort of comes in at the edge. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And if I right click on it, it doesn't, let's see if I can copy it. And I can move it. There we go. Oop. Didn't let me duplicate, and copy doesn't do what I think it did. So that's all right. We're just going to go ahead and take the easy way out this time instead of fighting with that. Pull it in one more time. Pull it down somewhere. And then I'm going to take both of these and push them down. All right. Again, we can see that this doesn't quite line up, but we'll see how that sounds overall. And now we're also going to edit the different tracks so that we can have a different level of sound. So the first one here is this, which is my city sound. All right, actually those all kind of work pretty well together, but I'm probably going to go ahead and push them all down a little bit so we can hear the city ambiance a little bit better. So maybe I'll bring that one up. Okay, one more try here, close up more. All right, so I think that's a good start. Now the last thing I want to do is I'm going to add an additional track down here. So over here by the microphones, and you can see these are the sounds here for my microphones. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit add a track. You can see now I have an additional track. I went from A1, 2, and 3 to A4. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the microphone and do a voiceover. So bear with me a second. When I hit this, I'm going to go into my panicked helicopter reporter voice, and we'll see how that works on this. Okay, this is Paul Fritz reporting from DATA Eye in the Sky, and you can see that we have a large spacecraft that just landed in our city. We're on our way to investigate along with the officials of the city. Okay, so now we can see that here I have some additional voiceover added to it, and now with all of my audio put together, I can edit it. Okay, this is Paul Fritz reporting from DATA Eye in the Sky, and you can see that we have a large spacecraft that just landed in our city. We're on our way to investigate along with the officials of the city. All right, so now I can play around with all of my different audio tracks and see how this will work out. Maybe bounce up my audio just a little bit more of my voiceover. That might be a little bit more than I want it to be, so let's go ahead. Okay, this is Paul Fritz reporting from DATA Eye in the Sky, and you can see that we have a large spacecraft that just landed in our city. We're on our way to investigate along with the officials of the city. All right, so now you've seen basically how to import in our PNGs and kind of how to modify them a little bit to fit into the story that we're trying to tell. We can actually bring in more of the same ones over and over again, and we can edit them by cutting them down and putting them in different orders if we wanted to. How to bring in sound effects, and we can also bring in music the same method, and then also how to do a voiceover. So this was kind of a news story approach. We could do the same thing for a commercial. We could add jingles in the background, and we could do a voiceover advertising a product or a place. Okay, so also now it would be nice to learn how to go ahead and actually export this into a video. So that's the next step. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is highlighted in blue around here. So if I click in here, you can see the blue highlight around this box. I'm going to go up to File, and then I'm going to go to Export Media. And in Export Media, what I can do here is I have different choices for formats. I am going to pick the Windows Media. That's the one I like to use. Right now I'm set at HD 1080p at 29.97 frames per second. I am going to switch that actually to 1080p 24. This was all the PNGs from my animation were done at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to make sure that this matches. And then down here I can go in and I can make some comments. Right here is where this output is going to happen. It's going to go onto my desktop. And the name that is going to be called right here is City Fly Through Part 4 Wave. And I need to actually probably change that. I'm going to go ahead and put this into my project folder. And I'm going to put this in my movies. And I'm going to change the name to City Fly Through Demo. Okay. And I've changed this location. And now you can see that I've also changed its name. Okay, now I can scroll down. I can make some changes down here if I wanted to the audio, also to the video. I can change my frame rates also here if I wanted to. I'm going to leave it at 24. And then down below this, I'm going to use maximum render quality. It's not a lot of frames here, and I'm going to try to improve its quality just a little bit. And I can either queue this if I wanted to, or I can go ahead and go straight into render by exporting it. So I'm going to hit export. And you can see it's going through its process. And go ahead and pause this video for a minute or so while it does its process. Okay, so now it has just finished exporting. So I'm going to go into my file folder. And I'm going to go into this one because that's where I put it. And here is the video we just made. Okay, this is Paul Frisch reporting from DATA high in the sky, and you can see that we have a large spacecraft that just landed in our city. We're on our way to investigate along with the officials of the city. Okay, and it's just that simple. We have combined some of our modeling and animation that we've done into Premiere Pro along with some sound effects and a voiceover, and kind of made ourselves a short little animated movie. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. If not, please let me know, or if you have any questions, please ask. And I hope you have a nice afternoon. Thank you.